What's poppin', man? It's T.O. Double. This is the 21st episode of the M-Cray Podcast, and I'm led to call this episode Change Your Attitude. Change your attitude. Your attitude is everything. They got a saying that says your attitude determines your altitude. And that's true. You know, your attitude is the way you're perceiving your situation. And your attitude is like the thing that's giving you the way to feel about what's happening because of what you're perceiving. And a lot of times people think that life is happening to them, but in reality, they are happening to their life. And they're happening to their life in a bad way. You know, they're actually producing the series of unfortunate events because of their attitude. Your attitude is your tone of mind. Everything has a tone. Colors have tones, sounds have tones, and based on the tone, you know, it can alter everything. Like you could be saying something in a certain tone, and it won't have the same effect as when you say it in another tone. Back in the day, when your mama would tell you and your friend, hey, it's time to go to bed, y'all would be like, okay, but y'all wouldn't really listen. Y'all still playing with y'all toys. She'd come back the second time. She'd say, hey, get up, pick up these toys, and go to bed. And y'all say, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Still playing with your toys. She come in there and change her tone. She says, if y'all don't get up and pick up these toys and go to bed, y'all scurry off, you know, put the toys in the toy box and jump in the bed. What was the difference between what she said at first and what she said last? It was the tone. She said the same thing, but she changed her tone and it got a different result. Well, that's like people's attitude. You have to change the tone of your attitude in order to get a different result, because you don't even have to say anything negative necessarily when you're in a bad mode. You just have this tone about you, and this tone is attracting unfortunate events, you know, because the Bible teaches, it says, with all vigilance, guard your heart, because out of your heart flows the issues of your life. Another translation says, guard your heart with all vigilance, and above all that you guard, for out of your heart flows the entire course of your life. So that's basically saying that your life is not happening to you. You are literally happening to your life. The course of your life is flowing out of the production center of your heart. Because that's what your heart is. It's a production center. And everything that's happening to you is only the broadcast, but it was first produced in the heart. And that's why you need to watch what you're putting in your heart, because you're going to regurgitate it in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I like to talk about this concept of a production center. You know, back in the day, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on TV, and we would watch the episodes, watch the broadcasts. But when we were watching the broadcast, that's not the same time that they were being performed. You know, it was previously recorded, and they were recorded in a place called a production facility where nobody could see what's happening except those inside of the facility, and they would film it and everything would be done. But America would have not seen it yet until it's time to have it broadcasted, you know? So when it's time to have it broadcasted, boom, we find out what had happened in that production facility. We find out what had been produced. Why? Because it's on the broadcast. Well, the heart, your heart, is the production center of your life. Your life is just the broadcast of everything that you've worked on the inside. Some people say, they try to say this thing about attitude. They say, you can't change what happens to you, but you can change what happens in you. And that sounds clever, but I want to change it a little bit because it's not all the way accurate in my eyes. I want to say it like this. You can change what happens to you by changing what happens in you, because your life comes out of you, not the other way around. You feel me? So a good attitude will make a bad situation the Garden of Eden. There is power in having a good attitude, and I wish more people understood that. Do you know how self-sabotaging it is to walk around with a victim mentality? Some people think that they're the victim. And when you think that, and you act like that, guess what? You get those results. It's impossible to get the results of a victorious person when you're holding the mentality of a victim. Do you know what a victim is? It's somebody that has been violated and is in a position to where they can't change the situation or do anything about it. Now, you would only grab that mindset if you are ignorant of the power of a good attitude. I want to talk about Joseph. Joseph had this dream that he was going to be ruling over his older brothers. He even was going to be ruling over his mama and daddy. He had this dream. And then he told the dream. But when he told it, his brothers got jealous and basically wanted to kill him. But instead of killing him, they said, let's just sell him and send him away so we ain't got to look at him no more. So they sold him. And the people that bought Joseph sold him as a slave. So this dude is a slave in somebody's house, Potiphar, namely, and he's the captain of Pharaoh's guard. And instead of being depressed because he's now a slave and so far away from his house, he says to himself, God showed me that I'm going to be a ruler over everybody in my house. So instead of me moping around that I'm a slave, I'm going to just do everything in this house so excellent that they're going to have to promote me to where I won't even be living like a slave. And did you know that's exactly what he did? He mastered everything that he was supposed to do. And his master saw it and said, man, I'm about to put you over everything in my house. And Joseph ended up being head over the household. That means in charge of everybody that's in there. Just imagine coming as a slave and then ending up being in charge over everybody that's in the house. That's what a good attitude can do. Because Joseph understood that his life was not happening to him. He decided that he was going to happen to his life. And it was based on what was going on the inside. God put inside of his production center that, hey, you're a ruler. And instead of just hearing that word and not connecting any faith with it, he decided, well, if God said this, let me act like this is true. And sometimes you got to act like what God promised you is true. I said sometimes, but you really should do this all the time, because the scripture says faith without works is dead. Faith can change your circumstance. And if you have a bad attitude, that can signal that your faith is not working. Because how could your faith be working if you have a bad attitude? Faith sees the future. When you see the future, you have hope. So when a person has hope, they're acting in a way that's good, because they're not being dictated by the circumstance at hand. They're being dictated by the inner reality that's in their spirit. And God is about giving you an inner reality that's actually real, but it becomes real when you believe what he's telling you is true. And a sign that you believe that what he's telling you is true is your actions. You're going to begin to participate in that inner reality that he placed inside of your spirit. Let's say it's freezing cold outside, right? And a person is outside in the cold wearing shorts and a tank top, and they freezing and they mad and got a bad attitude because it's cold. But this same individual has clothes to where they can bundle up. He got a coat, he got a jacket, he got a bunch of boots and socks, and he has the option to go put them on. But instead of putting them on, he's relishing in the badness of the situation. He's stuck on how bad the situation is. That's the same way it is when a person has a bad attitude. You have the resources to alter your situation. But if you don't go and do what you got to do on the inside, you're going to continue to have the same experience. You feel me? A bad attitude will turn a blessing into a bad situation. So you really don't want anybody that has a bad attitude around you, because all they're going to do is spoil the spirit behind what you got going on. You got to be around people that have a good attitude, and you got to have a good attitude yourself. Because when people that have good attitudes, when they combined, man, good things are produced. It's a fruitful situation when people that have good attitudes come together. That's an environment that's conducive to growth and blessing and progress. Because God gives you seeds And he said, my word is a seed. So God may give you a vision. He may give you a dream. And that's a seed in the spirit. But just like actual seeds, a seed needs a certain environment in order to grow up strong. So you got to make sure that you have a good attitude, because a good attitude creates the correct environment for the seed that God gave you. A seed is not going to grow on the kitchen counter. It'll be there, but it won't grow because it's not in the right environment. That's just like trying to have a vision, have a dream, but you got it inside of a bad attitude. Nothing's going to happen because of your attitude. You pull that same seed in the soil, and that thing is going to shoot up. And it's not just going to shoot up just because it's soil. You got to have sun, you got to have water. So all these elements are important in order to produce fruit. And that's the same way it is with your attitude. Your attitude is like the sun and water and soil, and it gives life to your vision. So the one who doesn't want you to have a good attitude is the devil. The devil knows that if you stay in a good attitude too long, you're going to produce fruit. And the devil doesn't want you to be productive. So you got to make sure that he doesn't distract you. And you got to make sure that he doesn't get you in a bad attitude, because that stuff is purely designed to stop what you got going on in the spirit. Because those dreams are growing up. You know, just like a seed. It may be in the soil and it may look like nothing's happening for 2 or 3 weeks, but in the ground, in the soil, something's happening. That thing is growing up. As long as you watering it and as long as the sun is out, something is happening. But you got to make sure that the environment stays conducive to what you're trying to produce. You can't grow bananas in Antarctica, because Antarctica is not the correct environment for that manner of fruit. So whatever dream you have, whatever seed you got that's a vision, you got to make sure that you stay in the right environment that can produce that manner of thing that you're trying to bring forth. And it's important because the one who's giving you these seeds is God. And he's going to hold you accountable for these seeds growing into trees. Because the whole reason God called you is to bring forth fruit. He called you to bear fruit, which means he wants somebody to eat something that had came from you and be blessed by what they ate. You see what I'm saying? So I want you to keep a good attitude, because this will cause you to live on top of the world. You know, I said it in the last podcast or a couple podcasts back. I said, people think living on top of the world is a luxurious statement. And it can be, but in this circumstance, I'm talking about living on top of your circumstances instead of your circumstances living on top of you. You see what I'm saying? The way that you can live on top of your circumstances is by changing your attitude. All you got to do is change your attitude. The right mindset will cause you to see the door of your deliverance. It's a bad attitude that's causing people to just look over the solution. They're not being solution minded. Did you know some people's situation is so simple that all they would have to do is apologize and everything would open up for them? Everything would turn from dark to light. But because the devil has given them a bad attitude, they're staying in a situation that's very grievous and uncomfortable. But it doesn't have to be like that. It all starts with changing how we're perceiving things and being solution-minded instead of problem-minded. Because God has our solution. But, you know, when you got your head down, you can't see nothing. If you're playing basketball and somebody wants to throw you the ball, but you got your head down, why would they throw you the ball? It's the same way with God. God has already made the solution for you, but you need to pick your head up and get in the game. I like how they say, get your head in the game. Some of y'all got a bad attitude, but that's because your head is not in the game. You need to get your head in the game, which means be looking for the solution, because it's there. It reminds me of the story of Hagar. You know, she's basically Abraham's maid. Sarah was mad at her. You know, she ran away and thought she was going to die in the wilderness. But God basically said, girl, if you don't stop being depressed and look up, and what was right there? A well of water. God is telling you to look up. The well of water is right there. And you'll see it if you change your attitude. You feel me? My 15 minutes is just about up, man. So, hey, it's T.O. Double. Until next time, peace out.